Everybody, welcome to Between the Covers. My name is Bradley Shaw, and this evening we're talking to Kim Clayton, who's the author of Slip On Through, Cielo Drive. Good evening, Kim. Thank you for joining us. Tell everyone watching what they can expect when they read your fantastic new book.
It's a really good adventure story, a good time travel alternate history story about a history teacher who goes back in time to like late 1960s Los Angeles, and he gets sort of involved in the whole Manson family thing that happens there, and tries to sort of change history. So
fantastic. And what was the incubus of this idea, this crafting idea of saying, time travel and that particular period?
Well, I'm a history teacher, so I've always been interested in sort of the what ifs and just the little changes from what happened. If people know a bit about the case, it's sort of like a chain event that happened over time. And I've always wondered if you can go back and change something, what the different outcome would be. So I was doing a course at university a few years ago, and it was on a documentary screenwriting, and I always wanted to do a documentary on this because I think that it sort of gets, Dennis Wilson and the Beach Boys sort of gets overlooked with the whole Manson family involvement. And it's just an idea that I had, and then when I had some free time, I decided to sit down and write this book.
Yeah, well done. And you said you're a history teacher and buff. So research-wise, was there a lot of elements you had to go back and just, I guess, research or delve into further? Because, I mean, the Manson story is a lot of people are ignorant to it by choice because it's safer. They know of it. It's horrible. But a lot of facts and evidences and pieces of the case is probably not everyone's explored. So keeping your fiction valid or legitimate, did you do a lot of research for that period, that time?
Not really. I've been reading about this case for years. So a lot of it was based on just stuff that I remember and stuff that I've read over the many different books and things that I've read and seen over years. The really only thing that I had to go back and look at was names. I wanted to try to remain as faithful to the events of the time. So it's just in the book, there's a lot of names of people, like there's television people, there's police and all that were involved in the case at a later stage. I've sort of slipped them in, and they're the only really things that I had to change. The only other thing that I had was when the character goes to Cielo Drive on the night when the murders were happening, the only thing I had to check was I had him ringing a doorbell, and I wrote it and I thought it was really good. And then about a week or two later, I was just a bit concerned. I'm thinking, wait a minute, was there a doorbell at the house? So I wanted to try to remain as accurate as possible. And I researched and couldn't find anything about a doorbell at the original Cielo Drive property. So I was very lucky that back in 2008, when I was in Los Angeles with my wife, we went on a tour, which is the Helter Skelter tour. And the gentleman there is probably one of the foremost Manson experts in the country. And he's sort of like documentaries, and Tarantino used him, and everyone pretty much uses him. And I contacted him, his name's Scott Michael, and I asked him, and he wasn't sure as well. So we had to sort of learn that together. So we found out, no, there was no doorbell. So had to go back and change that.
So the ultimate outcome was that you were right with your instincts to check it, because that one small detail, of course. And I mean, credibility is important, especially as a new author for yourself, setting up the profile and the platform you want to hopefully develop more books through. So well done on that note. When you wrote this book in the sense of being fiction, was it hard to also live in the lives of your characters in that period? Like, you had to not only understand the situation that you were describing for the historical point, but the creating of fictional people in that time and the influences they had. Was that a difficult part of your book process?
Well, not really, because I've based pretty much the main characters in the book are based on people that I know. Just because when I wrote this book, I wrote it. It was a COVID book. With my school closed, we went to online learning. So I thought to myself, I just thought I needed to do something during COVID rather than just waste time and watch TV and do insignificant things. So I thought I'll do some writing. I'll just have some fun, and I based the main character on myself. Because I never expected it to be at this stage. So that's why he's very close. He has my mannerisms, and he's pretty much me. And then I thought, as I started writing, I need more characters, and I liked the whole concept of the teacher-student. And I asked two of my old students from a couple of years ago if I could use them as characters, and they were very happy to let me do so. And I want to thank them because they really shape the book and the way it goes. So pretty much everyone, with the exception of a couple of characters, everyone is pretty much a real person somewhere along the lines.
Good. Well, that would make it easier. I mean, you've got a lot more of the traits recognisable for you, comfortably wise too, as opposed to creating a whole new person. So, in that construct, you said there you wrote it during COVID. So, having that time, had you wanted to write this book for a while, or was it just bang in COVID in that few months you sat down, or what's your writing, I guess, history before you stepped into the genre of fiction and becoming an author?
Okay. Well, I tried writing my first book when I was about 18, and which was like a murder mystery sort of book, and the problem was I couldn't develop those characters because I was just trying to create characters out of thin air, and really couldn't do that. Then when I was about 22, 23, I tried again, and I spent a few years trying to write a book, and I could never get it to that point once again. Because I just couldn't develop those characters. So this was, and having the people there, it just made it a whole lot easier, and that's why it was actually quite easy to write in the end.
Good. So you always had the plot line, or the story points were always good, but you just needed those characterizations.
Pretty much so.
Okay, so is being on that path as a writer when you were younger, was it something you always wanted to do? Like you said, you started at 18, or was there what other elements of your life were you always pursuing if it wasn't writing? So what other things did you want to achieve? Like a history teacher, you said? So
I've always wanted to write. It's been one of my strengths at school, and I've always encouraged I had two fantastic English teachers in year 10 and year 12 who encouraged me to develop my ideas. But then it just got to the point when I was in my 20s and trying to write, and it just starting, stopping over about 5 or 6 years, and never getting to the point where I could say it's finished, and in the end just saying, right, that's it, I can't do it anymore. And then for the next decade or so, I'm like, I should start writing again, or I really want to write. This would be a great idea. And then I never went back to it because I just never wanted to go through with that again and never be able to finish it. So
so you sort of had to avoid. Sorry. I was going to say, you sort of avoided the disappointment, which is a normal phase, I think, for new writers. Like, there's that element of wanting to develop it, wanting to process it, but then again, getting distracted by life and having elements. So I totally understand that. It is difficult to set up a discipline, and especially when your lifestyles and life choices have to be made as well. So with that, now that you've established yourself as a writer, you've published and you've got a plan for the next book, what is now, I guess, your writing style? You're writing day to day. Have you set times? Have you set a schedule? How do you now see yourself as a writing professional, even still possibly as a hobby, but still more disciplined towards the goal?
Now it's just sort of, when I get the feeling to write, it's sort of just start doing it. So I finished CLO Drive and thought, that's pretty great, and it's really good, and got some good positive responses to it through yourself. Good. And then I thought, okay, well, I put a few, as they call, Easter eggs throughout the first book for a sequel. Yes. And then I sat down and started writing it, and I tried, and it just didn't work. Yep. So I put that to the side, and then I had another idea, and I tried that one and started that one, and same thing, I couldn't get it back, and so I stopped for a while, and I thought, well, maybe I've done too much too soon. It shouldn't be like this, and And then I reckon about a month later, I just had an idea popped in my head, and I did another one. So it's just I'll just write when I've just got the idea, and I'll just write chapter by chapter and go for it from there.
Well done. That's a fortunate way to write. I think a lot of writers spend time planning and plotting and developing but having that casual strategy and just getting yourself in the moment, writing fresh, and then of course revision. How do you find revision after you've written that way? When you go back over it, do you find do you cringe? Do you feel, wow, that was really good? So what's your response to your first drafts usually?
I find it interesting because I don't write it from beginning to end. I'll just write various chapters, and then I'll try to piece it all together at the end. And it's funny when you go back and read it, because you explain the same things in the beginning sometimes, and you got to go back and think, okay, well, I wrote this, 4 weeks ago, and I wrote this, 2 days ago. So it's good. I find that's the easiest way that I can do it. I find that it works for me, because rather than trying to fit, my story, the ending to the story, I try to fit my story to the ending. So good. And how have you found the artistic process in all like that way, and maybe the steps involved with the editing and with the publishing process? How have you found all the overall writing to publication? What's that experience been like for you? I found it really good, especially with yourself. I was very lucky to find you. When I first when I was starting to go through it and started having an idea of this was something a bit different, this was something really good, I started doing some online searches for publishers, and I did find a company that I contacted, and they were very, they got back to me pretty quickly, and then they're talking about, this is what we can do, and they mentioned names and who had endorsed them, and and this is the price. And then when they started talking discount, something went off my head, thinking, well, it just didn't sound right. It sounded too good to be true. And then the hard sell started. It's like, well, sign up with us today and do this and do that. And I was like, oh, and I was 50-50. And then I sat on it for about a month, and then I just said, no, I don't, it just didn't feel right. And it was I won't mention the name, it was an overseas company. And then I decided, if I'm going to go local, and I was very happy to find you. And the thing that really impressed me is when I sent it off, and when you called me a couple of days afterwards, is that you'd actually read it, and you had so many questions, and you knew so much about the book. And to me, that just said, you're passionate, you're interested, and let's go.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed like I said, the intricacies of the way you intertwined history with fiction, in the sense, and that's a delicate area, because you've got to keep your credibility but still have your creativity. So you've got to be delicate to the history, but you've also got to be able to indulge it and let the reader enjoy it. So no, I did enjoy that. So tell me about, in the processes of writing it, in the way you write, do you experience writer's block? Do you feel at times, you said you write when you're ready, I understand, but do you still feel that edge where you it's not working, you're trying to push it, or you can't just get that moment, or maybe it has been weeks long and you're feeling frustrated for it? Like, do you experience writer's block at all that way?
With this book, not really. I think because I know so much about the history, I know pretty much where I wanted to go. The only problem I think I set myself a goal of about 1,500 words a day, and I wanted to write every day. Yeah. And I think I got about 2 weeks in, and then I would think I was just mentally tired from it. So I think the only problem I had was I pushed myself a bit too hard. And that's what I had when I tried writing again, when I tried writing the second and the third book. I tried to push it too hard. Yeah. I just look at writing when I just feel like it.
Just let it happen.
Yeah, and it'll sound better anyway, it'll read better if you write when you're not sort of having that expectation up on yourself.
No, absolutely, that's good, and it's good that you can recognize that and let it go, and not be set and forced into that corner of I got to write. As you say, if you push it, it isn't always the best way. Right. So what's your writing kryptonite? What sort of things I guess stop you, or weaken you from writing the best you can, or even the time you want? What's your kryptonite?
I can't really think of anything at the moment. Everything's going everything's going really well. I think because I'm writing about stuff I know, I'm not trying to make stuff up like I've tried beforehand. So I'm choosing historical events that I enjoy and that I know quite a bit about. I've read about for years, so I can try to. The only probably kryptonite I have is that I just want to continue. I just want to do it, and when I've started, I don't want to stop.
Yeah.
When I wrote the August 8th, August 9th chapter in Cielo, I wrote that pretty much overnight because I didn't want to stop, and it's just trying to find time to stop and balance like family and work as well. Yeah,
and having the boss yelling out in the corner there, "Come to bed," or "Come and do the lawn," or "Come and do your chores. Don't keep writing." You know, right. It's always fun. Yes, I agree. So do you have many projects coming up? Have you actually planned out some ideas? You said you've started some, but haven't got to them all. What's your pipeline for the future looks like? What do the readers expect coming from Kim next?
I've got the sequels done. Good. On Watergate. So the same character, same concept. It's going to be different than what Cielo Drive is. Mm-hmm. A third one is what I'm going to do on the Zodiac, I believe. That's sort of the idea mulling around now. And I was going to stop at 3, and then I had an idea about maybe like a World War II one. So maybe we'll see about that. We'll see how it goes in the future.
So basically, you've created a series of portal time jumping or such, which is great. So you've got a series that's pretty unlimited, really, if you think about it.
I think the only limitation I think I can have is choosing history that I think readers are going to want to read, not just what I want to do, because my history love is a bit narrow, probably not as public orientated as what could be.
Fair enough. So with being a new writer, particularly, I like to ask this question just out of curiosity to see, did you have any challenges with writing the opposite sex? So like having the male characters and female characters, as you said, they're people you knew, but you still have to give a female character a different psychological and emotional state to a male. Did you have any challenges with writing the females in the story?
A little bit, because I wanted to remain true to the people who I wrote it as. My wife popped up for a little bit, so I wanted to make sure that don't want to make her look bad. I want to make her look really good. Yeah. And with the Darby character, I wanted to make sure that I wanted people to sort of realise, how great person, great kid. Mm-hmm. I wanted to realise, how great she is, and to show that the true person that she really is.
Yeah, and you said your wife, has she read the book? Is she supporting your venture? Yeah.
I think she was a bit disappointed because the kids were on a page or two before. They got a page 2 before she did, so I think that was her only criticism of the whole book. So she was a bit miffed that she wasn't more profiled. they only have a small role in this one, and they're going to be, with what I've got planned with Zodiac, they're going to have a much bigger role in that one there, so we'll wait and see.
Oh, good. I hope there's nothing too tragic in that book. But so with your readers, have you had any chances to have any test reads, beta reads? People come back to you with opinions other than our own reviewers? Anything yet? No.
I think besides myself and my wife, I believe only 2 people have read it. Cass and Darby, my characters. I've given it to them to sort of get their approval and see what they think, and they're really the only people that have read it so far, besides the guys at Shoreline. So I haven't heard back from anyone at this stage, but I really look forward to. I really can't wait to see what some people think about it, and really want to get some feedback and hopefully help out with other works in the future.
Good. See that, readers, people watching. Give us feedback on the books. It helps, improves the writers, gives Kim a great expensive bit of confidence. So please look into his book, purchase it, and review it. So having said that, what other I guess what do you do when you're not writing? You said you've got children. How are they? Young children? Do you do a lot of family time? Is that really where you spend your time?
My son's 5. My son's 7. My daughter's 5, so a lot of family time. So
that's a lot.
My writing is pretty much is a a sleep sacrifice. So I'll write at night or when the kids are in bed or something like that. So because if I don't, they're always in wanting to know what's going on and what am I doing and where am I doing. So
good. And for yourself, having gone through the trials and tribulations and some of your own challenges, what would you pass on to new writers, aspiring writers? What would you say to them in the coming?
One thing would be make the story fit what you want to do. Don't try to make the story dictate where you go. And like I tell my students who talk about wanting to write is you don't have to write from A to B, from beginning to end. Write in chapters. Write, if you've got an ending, write your ending first. Then make the story fit your ending, and if it works, great. Also, another thing is find someone you can trust to read it. Someone who will give you an absolute 100% honest opinion about what what it's about. Take on feedback. Sometimes it's going to be disappointing. You'll learn to take disappointment and as adulation. And also is just look into, if you're going to publish, find someone who's very reputable. So Shoreline is the way to go.
Oh, thank you for that a little bit. But so tell me the interesting writing quirk. What do you have for you that's a little unique that you might think is different to possibly most other writers? We have some that write on their phone, some that write naked, some that write to certain music. What is your little writing quirk?
I just like to have something around that's based on the theme that I'm writing about. So if I wrote about with the Beach Boys, I'd have the Beach Boys playing from anywhere, so their music playing. When I wrote Watergate, I've got a Richard Nixon bobblehead that I had on my desk. So he was watching over me when I was writing. So having something, just so I can have something in sight that I'm looking at, going, okay, that's where I'm going. So
so it keeps your mind in that space. That's good. So in closing, what are you excited about for this book? What are you hoping readers gain from it? What are you looking forward to for their feedback? And that's not saying it's going to be they have to give it to you in that way. So people watching, you don't have to do this, but I'm just saying, what does Kim hope you get out of it?
I just hope people get an idea about this whole case. That if you know a bit about the whole history there, the history of Dennis Wilson and the Beach Boys is really covered up a little bit in terms of I'd say their significance and their importance in the case. And I just want to sort of understand is that it happened by pure accident. It was just pure unfortunate, wrong place, wrong time sort of information. I want people to sort of to get out and think that these things happen in the world. So and just to have an adventure, to have to sort of learn some new stuff and really have fun reading, and hopefully they can picture themselves transported back into a 1969 Los Angeles. So
wow. Well, you did that very well, Kim. One of the things about the book, it is really authentic for its period and story. So it's an enjoyable read for people who like period histories that way. So congratulations on that. And so we're very excited to represent the book and bring it out to the market. So everybody watching, please grab a copy. It's in pre-sale at the moment, but it will be available on March 15th. So you can still buy a copy and it'll be sent to you when it's released. So well done, Kim. Thank you so much for your time today.
Excellent. Thank you for having me, Bradley.
No problems. And we'll be talking again, I'm sure, on Watergate. Slip on through the next one coming. So thank you everybody for watching. Looking forward to it. And
Now.